RH Technical Industries Limited, or RHTI, based in Andover, Hampshire, manufactures plastic labels, nameplate fascias, and flexible or rigid format membrane switch panel assemblies using screen print technology. The company relied on an aging AS400 powered MRP system, which was not only cumbersome but was also starting to prove unreliable.
The issue we were finding is to try and get information out of the database in a way that we could use it was onerous, both from an IT point of view and particularly from the manager's point of view. And basically, with need a lot of IT input to get the report formats created in such a way that it could be used, and then a lot of those, the managers themselves weren't able to run the necessary report to get the information out. So it was always a case of speccing quite a broad and quite a well-defined query report that was required to the IT department, who then had to do the sluggish work before they could get into a spreadsheet for us. The end effect is that a lot of information that you maybe wanted, you gave up trying to get because the reports were so difficult.
After a hardware problem, RHTI decided to take stock of their production control software.
And the thing that finally made the decision for us, I think, was fortunately not a disaster, but it was a very close to disaster that caused the problem. We were running on a relatively old AS400 with 4 disk drives. We actually lost 3 on one occasion, and were very fortunate in being able to recover the data from tapes. So that really brought home to us that the thing was getting too old. The AS400 itself was fairly tired, although they were relatively cheap. The only choice we would have had was to upgrade to a different unit, which would have required an OS400 operating system upgrade as well. And that would also have required us to upgrade the MS400 software. So we were in for a huge upgrade, both cost and time, on a system which really was, in many ways, was too big for RH Technical Industries as it now is. So the costs were really quite, I think they get lost after you've been doing it for 18 years and you've been paying it quarterly for 18 years. You don't think about it anymore until you start actually putting figures together, and then suddenly it just makes you realise just what the pleasure of having this software really does cost you.
The decision was made to move away from AS400.
And we decided that we would go after a PC network type of solution. We felt that was appropriate to us. I'm not even sure how we found Rent IT and 123 MRP. I can remember I found it, but I can't remember how, and I thought this sounds like good news, and I actually went on one of the workshop days. Immediately came back from that and suggested that other people ought to go on one immediately afterwards, and then we came to the conclusion very quickly that this was the right answer for us. It seemed to fit very nicely with our business ethic. We liked the approach of the whole of the Rent IT business plan. It suited us very nicely.
In October 2006, 3 people attended the 3-day training course, 2 on the administration course and 2 on the implementation course the following month. With 123mrp.net, prospective customers can choose to attend training courses, only paying if they subsequently sign up to use the software.
3 of us did the 3-day course at Rent IT, and all 3 of us found it extremely valuable, well organised, well documented, meaningful, and we were able in that training to answer a lot of the questions that we had about our potential use of the software. That gave us the opportunity to come back to base here. The software was up onto a PC, and then we took our key functional managers and effectively took sections of the 3-day training we'd done and worked through them to help understand how that might apply within RHTI. Having then once got RHTI type data into a test environment, we then had those same managers together, and we went through it using our own information in a logical sequence. I suppose historically they would have called it conference room pilot. The conference room pilot that I did when we first went live on an upgraded version of MS400, which is our old software, involved something like 20 people and lasted for about 4 weeks. Absolute disaster. Ours, I think, involved 9 people and lasted for about 4 hours. And in that time, I think everybody became very clear that they might have to change the way they did things a little bit, but basically this thing answered the questions that they got, and the concepts of structures and things were very similar to those that we needed in AS400. They were just more easily achieved on 123 MRP than they were in the MS400 software. The whole first meeting with Rent IT was extremely interesting, and a little bit of history. I was involved with RH Technical Industry. We were then owned by the Laird Group PLC. So we decided that we had to go for a new system, which became MS400. Our evaluation of that involved something in the region of 3 to 4 weeks of consultant time visiting us, and the involvement of quite a lot of people within RH Technical Industries as it was then. Eventually we came to the conclusion this software looked promising. It then involved us going to do some site visits. 4 of us, and plus one of the representatives of the company went to the States, and we travelled to 6 or 7 different users of the software in the States. What I would like to think that does in terms of the green mark and the carbon footprint on evaluation of that software, I don't know. Our evaluation, the same process that we went through with 123 MRP, consisted of 2 people in 2 days going down from Andover to Southampton, and the decision was easily made. Very impressed right from the start, because immediately all the concerns that I personally had gone through, long-term contracts, loads of consultancy, external consultancy support, bespoking, training, all heavily charged for, paid for, and things that suddenly just disappeared. And the thought of being able to go to a new software system without even having a significant contract in place was very attractive to us.
RHTI invested in a SQL server installed by Bluechip, a Rent IT approved partner. Data transfer was an initial concern, with RHTI holding almost all product information electronically. Over 3,500 part masters, 6,700 routing files, and over 37,000 bill of materials, which were extracted from several spreadsheets containing over 403,000 lines, many of which were duplicated. RHTI used the 123mrp.net data transfer facility to export their data to a structured Excel format, also performing test runs on a test database to evaluate how well the data went in. Implementation was originally planned for November 2006, but due to outside factors was delayed until May 2007.
We closed down on the AS400 on the Thursday night. We did all the download information on the Friday. We checked our spreadsheet upload basis. We got that confirmed internally as being all right. And we went up with it on the Friday, and we literally went live throughout the factory as of the Monday morning following that.
What was immediately noticeable was the speed at which the system operated. Previously, running MRP took 4.5 hours, with backups taking an entire day to perform at weekends. RHTI now runs MRP several times a day.
The big change, I think, that was obvious to us, and the one that's probably the most meaningful, is that the old system used to run MRP on a net change basis every night, and it took something in the region of 4 to 4.5 hours, I believe, to do that, with full backups and full routines occurring the weekend. And I think that used to take all of the work, all of the Sunday, to actually process. We now run MRP 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day, and don't even think about it. It's just one of those processes that we go through. We're on a fairly tight lead time type of product, and we really do like to minimise the amount of delay in getting work into process, to be able to run the MRP and firm up all the requirements on a regular basis during the course of a day is extremely valuable to us.
Report generation and obtaining data in general also saw a drastic improvement.
We're finding what used to be routine necessary activities, particularly things like purchasing, releasing works orders to the shop floor, loading the factory, expediting stuff in from suppliers. Those sort of areas of concern, of activity, have become so much simpler and quicker. With Brian May, who's a colleague of mine and myself, tend to work very early hours in the day. We're here just before 6. Now by 7:30, between the two of us, we've released all the works orders, we've placed all the purchase orders, we've done all the expediting we need to do, we've generated all the order book requirements and so on. So they are all available to the factory, and the rest of the day is ours to actually concentrate on making things happen rather than generating the necessary paperwork to deal with it.
Stockholding also saw a reduction of around 20% due to better visibility of future orders and existing stock. Another additional benefit that was identified related to RHTI's stocking and handling of inks used for orders.
It was very difficult to control and handle historically. It was roughly put into the cost of the product when we did the cost evaluation for it. But it was never in any shape or form controlled, and the upshot of that, we had an awful lot of ink that was made and never used. 123 MRPs allowed us to deliberately create inks as a bill of material item so that we do have valid quantity pairs in all of our bill of materials. We have correct issuing of materials into the works order as inks, and we have good stock control of the ink. Ink expenditure in a year is probably to us in the region of £30,000 to £40,000. The wastage cycle is such that over a period of about 2 years, taking what I'm seeing now, historically I would have expected to throw something in the region of a third of that away, something in the region of £20,000. I'm fairly comfortable now that the systems we have in place and the controls that we have are such that it will allow us to reduce that wastage to a very, very low figure.
The rental costs associated with 123mrp.net are considerably less annually than the maintenance alone of RHTI's previous system.
The slickness that we found within 123MRP in handling both new product coming into the operation and through its processes and out through the door has been a great benefit to us, and I'm sure we have taken advantage of that almost without realising it. And I don't believe that under the old system we would actually have coped with the huge peak. We've managed to do that, but 123MRP certainly has smoothed that process, and it definitely smooths the whole process of releasing new work into train